Yes, welcome one, welcome all, welcome to another exciting episode of the General Gaming Show right here. I am Bridger, I'll be your host for today, and we've got a great show for you. Glad you got a hold of the program, however you may have found it. Tell a friend or two, won't you? Subscribe to twitch.tv/Bridger15. It's gonna be a good time. We have this every other week. And we are getting started here. So we've got Bioshock Infinite we're going to talk about later. We've got some stuff we're going to talk about now. Let me first introduce my co-host here, Freelancer, as always. Welcome, sir.
Hey.
Also, Tibret is here, my good friend. Welcome, sir.
How you doing?
Now you are you've got a YouTube channel you've been putting some stuff on recently, yeah?
Yeah, it's subject to change at the moment, but currently it's youtube.com/users/waffalol, WOFFALOL.
Why don't you throw that in the show notes?
I'll throw that in the show notes for sure. It's impossible to hear phonetically.
So I've got up here on the screen what you've been doing recently is Stranger's Wrath, Oddworld.
Yes,
tell us about that. What? How old is this game?
Well, Bridger. This game came out in 2005, but what I'm playing is the HD remix that they put out for the PC, which came out just this past year, and if you owned this game on Steam previously, you were automatically, whether you liked it or not, upgraded to the HD remix.
Whether you liked it or not.
Whether you liked it or not.
The old one, essentially.
I've seen a fair amount of complaining on the Steam user group saying, what the fuck, this new version has bugs in it, I wanted the old one.
Wait a minute, weren't you telling me earlier this is supposed to have bugs in it? That you launched them from a crossbow?
You can see that there's bugs in it.
You need that drop noise right now.
And I love the fact that there are the bugs that you fire out of the crossbow in it. I don't love so much that there were some people complaining about a acceleration bug where they would be running and just lose all their momentum. So there was a fair amount of griping, but it seems like they've patched it a bit and made it better.
So this HD version is more than just texture changes. It's like a new engine, I guess, or is it? I mean,
I don't know how expansive the changes to it were. I do know that it was enough to be able to introduce new problems.
Yeah.
Enough to be able to
Simple enough.
Which in software is often not a lot.
So yeah. I know another game that Rob has been, or Tibret has been playing recently, and one that I've also been playing recently is XCOM. And we were explaining this game to Freelancer a short while ago. But we were streaming it 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to be putting both of those on YouTube soon. One of them is like a Games Explained version of XCOM streaming. It's about an hour where I kind of describe all the different elements of the game, and I show them to you. There's like the strategic layer and the tactical layer, and the strategic layer is balancing a lot of resources, and the tactical layer is moving your guys around in a turn-based combat, like a tactics game. And they're both really fun and engaging. But the one that we had last time was incredible because we had all of these League of Legends characters in it. We had Annie at the very beginning, then joined by Caitlyn, then Katarina, and then somebody pointed out that Dr. Shen is also one of the main characters in the game. And then towards the end, we had I forgot what his name was. It was like something Cho. Like Cho was the last name. And he also just happened to be the guy that I gave the super armor to. So he was our tank for the purposes of that particular game. So that was a lot of fun. So I'm going to be putting up the Games Explained one, and I'm going to be putting up the other, which is basically Lightning and Kuro making fun of me as I fail horribly to save Australia. For whatever reason, whenever we went to Australia, things went horribly wrong. So I blame Kuro about that entirely. And it was a lot of fun. Look for those on YouTube soon. I'm going to get I got those fully edited. I just have to add a little voiceover. Probably come out later this week. So that was a lot of my time recently playing XCOM. And I happened to get that, by the way, when I bought Bioshock. They gave that to everybody who pre-ordered it. So that's what we're going to be talking about later. The other thing I've been playing recently is DLC Quest. And man, I can't even describe to you what awesome fun this game is. If you haven't played it and you don't want to go watch my video, it's worth $5 or something. I don't even know how much it is on Steam, but if it's worth $5, go get it, because it makes fun of most game conventions. And as soon as I saw the horse armor, I knew I had to buy it. All right, so what have you been playing recently, Freelancer? You been playing anything good?
I don't know. Do you consider League of Legends good, Bridger?
That's still jumping into League of Legends?
Do we want to go in one of those debates? No, League of Legends for the most part. I actually decided to crunch down and do ranked games nonstop.
Oh.
I've been nonstop ranked game. You have to get into like a mentality to do that.
Yes.
Kind of like with StarCraft 2, I did the same thing. Like you have to just break that barrier where you just don't care about winning or losing. You just queue up again right after the next one. And I've shot up 2 or 3 divisions now. I'm almost gold, and
nice.
probably played about 80 games in the last week or so.
Wow.
So, and at my rate, I mean, I'm going up. I keep shooting up the little chart or whatever. I'm looking to at least get into mid platinum, and I'll be happy. I'll consider myself accomplished, and then completely quit the game.
Well, as someone stuck all the way down in Silver 5. I don't play that much, though.
I'm getting towards silver. I don't play it that much either. I kind of fell off playing it for a while because I realized how much of my time it was sucking away. But when I do play, I bounce around exactly 23 league points in Bronze 1. Like, I can get higher, but then I just fall back to 20. I get low, I just bump back up to 23. It's incredibly frustrating, actually.
Well, Bronze 1 is the new Elo hell. Like, forget Bronze 5, forget any of those. Because in Bronze 1, you have just enough people who are good and are going to be passing through the ranks to get to better things, but also an equal number of people who are destined to be veteran Bronze 1 players. and it's all about the ratio of those people that you get on your team.
I think I just need to play more with a duo queue, because then at least you're like, at least there's one other person who isn't a complete idiot on my team. That's, I think, the secret weapon of solo duo queue is always play with a duo queue. All right, so what else is going on here? Let's jump into the news, I guess. Here, why don't we? That's the next section of the show here, and after that, we're going to jump into talking all about the masterpiece, or maybe not. That is Bioshock Infinite. So we'll be talking about that soon. But this is the news I wanted to bring up. Company of Heroes 2 is in open beta, kind of. Insofar as if you go to their Facebook page and you click like, you can get into the open beta or the closed beta. So it's pretty much open to anybody. And I've been actually playing it. It's not breaking the NDA to say that you are playing it, considering when I launch Steam, it tells all of my friends that I'm playing it. But it's I think I'm still not allowed to talk about specifics. But it is bringing back a lot of good old memories about Company of Heroes. I will say that. There's a couple of things that I'm not quite sure of yet. I have to play it some more to really be more determined on whether I really like it or not. And there's a lot of stuff that I do like that I find as improvements over the original game. So as soon as that opens to open beta and the NDA is dropped, I'll be streaming it and we'll get some footage for you guys and we'll do some casts like in the old days. I know Rogers and Pounder are doing some casts. They got some connections at Relic and they were able to get the permission to do some casts recently. So you can check out their YouTube channel. Just search for Rogers and Pounder or R&P on YouTube, and you'll probably find them, my good friends there. So that is something I'm definitely looking forward to. I don't know, you guys aren't very big RTS players. I know, actually, sorry, Freelancer is, but not in the Company of Heroes type of game.
I did play Company of Heroes.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
I didn't know that, actually.
For a very long time, yeah. I quite enjoyed my paradrop British Empire. And,
oh, the gliders! The gliders,
yes.
When they first came out, would just crush everything.
They were OP as all hell. And yeah, but I played a lot of Company Heroes. I didn't play it, obviously, this was before me and you met, but yeah, good stuff.
I love it.
I backed Planetary Annihilation on Kickstarter. That's about as far as I get into RTSs.
There you go.
I honestly think Company of Heroes did. They have their own flavor. It's not like it's Age of Empires, which I also played a lot of. It's not like it's StarCraft. It's its own thing, and it did it well. So I haven't played 2 yet. Now that I know about this, I'm going to go immediately. I mean, I don't see a problem with liking their Facebook page, but I'm going to go try it out. We ought to do a show on it, Bridger. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Especially, once the NDA goes down, we'll be able to talk a lot more freely about it. So we'll look forward to more of that in the future, for sure. What else is coming in the news here? I know, to Brett, you've been talking about something.
It's a fighting game that's produced by this, or rather, the engine for was created by this high-level tournament fighting game player who goes by Mike Z.
It looks a lot like Guilty Gear.
It's kind of got that hand-drawn flavor like Guilty Gear does, but I've been watching a lot of the tournament play videos recently, and it looks really fun. I've only played it briefly, but I'm going to be playing it a whole heck of a lot more once it comes out on Steam.
Well, I know the fighting games have different styles. Like Marvel vs. Capcom feels different from Street Fighter, etc.
Yeah, this is definitely a combo fest. So if you like that kind of, I think it's more Japanese studios that produce them, but BlazBlue style combo fests where it's all about not dropping that string of moves.
Gotcha. Interesting. I own BlazBlue, but I've played it like once, and I don't remember why I bought it, other than like, I want to get into fighting games, and then I got it, and I was like, no, I don't. I don't want to
come over. I could have taught you. I could finally have somebody else to talk to fighting games.
Speaking of these, have you guys ever looked into L Sword? Ever heard of that?
L Sword.
Yeah.
No.
Have not.
It's like it's a Korean kind of like a fighting game mix of an MMO. I was just curious because I've looked into that and it seems to be pretty neat. But yeah, we can cover that another time. You ought to look it up.
That's not bad. All right, what's next on the list here? Oh yeah, Bioshock. Let's talk about Bioshock because oh man, this game. Let me pull up some footage here. I think I've got Freelancer's footage downloaded. He wanted to. You know what? Actually, wait a minute. We've got to start. let me
mine's
preface
covering
this.
a boss fight, so you can't.
Let me preface this then. I'm going to get it set up right now. You're looking at a black screen because I'm setting this up. I'm not going to show any footage to start with because there are some people here that have not played it and they just want to hear our thoughts on it spoiler free. So we're going to have two sections. We're going to have the spoiler free section, and then once we're exhausted saying everything we can say about it without talking about it, then we'll jump into the spoiler section. So people who do not want to hear spoilers can leave, because there are a lot of really cool sort of revelations in this game that you might not want to have spoiled. So I'll pull this up and get it ready, and then I will pause it. Blah, there we go. So we will have this ready to go, and we'll pull that up when necessary. But for now, let's just quickly talk about whether we liked it or not, for the most part. So first, here's the system I would like to use, because review scores in the gaming press suck. Like, everybody, 7s are like good, and 6s are the worst game in the world, and I don't even know what a 1 is. Nobody, it's just the most ludicrous system. So what I would like to do is have a very simple system. 2 thumbs up is something that you would recommend to anyone who is interested in that genre. 1 thumb up is something you would recommend to somebody, it's an enjoyable experience, but it's not for everyone. You might want to look into if you are interested in the theme. 4X games is a genre, but there are space 4X games like Endless Space, and there are Civilization historical 4X games like Civilization. So I might give a 1 thumb up to something if somebody say, okay, you would like this game if you like this theme, you'd probably like it. So 1 thumb is like, it's good, and there are some people that would like it, but it's not an I would recommend this to everyone game. And then 0 thumbs is I don't recommend this game. So that's very simple. Recommend it with 2 thumbs up. Everybody should get this. 1 thumb up is like, some people are going to like this, but it's probably not worth full price. And 0 is nothing. So let's quickly start. How many thumbs are we giving this?
Giving it the 2.
The 2. I'm pretty sure we're all comfortable.
I don't know.
Giving it the 2.
Part of me wants to be like 1.5.
That's not on the chart.
I know it's not on the chart. I'm breaking your system already. Gonna multiply. There's 5 discrete positions of my thumb, so that I can give this a 1 out of 2, or a 1 through 10 score.
It's a 1.5 thumbs out of 2, Roger.
No. What about you, Freelancer?
I put it up there with like Bastion and other games that I still recommend to people. So definitely, according to your methodology here, 2 thumbs up. So.
All right. So what, without spoilers, what do you guys think makes it worth recommending? What pieces of it?
Obviously, the story. I mean, it's not something you pick up immediately. Most people go into Bioshock Infinite the same way you went into the original Bioshock, where it's just a shooter, right? Okay, it has a little quirks here and there. You got, these things that, well, Bioshock, you injected yourself, and, it's just a typical shooter with new mechanics. But as you get into the game, you start, whether you like it or not, and even people that didn't get into it because of the story, they get engrossed in it. It starts to draw you in. And with Bioshock Infinite, it wasn't any different. Going into the game, I just wanted a game where I could grab a sniper rifle and headshot people all day. And I would have been happy. I've played games like Sniper and stuff that have no storyline.
I've seen you play Far Cry 3.
There you go, Far Cry 3. And I ran around with just nothing but a sniper rifle. And that's just my way of having fun. The way I see it, I'm continuing to improve my aim and my twitch ability with my mouse. It doesn't really matter to the story. That's what I'm enjoying doing. Well, Bioshock I was told to get it because it's a cool game as far as the atmosphere and stuff, but without getting into spoilers yet, I mean, the story, it starts to draw you in over time. And similar to, like, I really do put it like there with Bastion as far as my after game, feelings towards it. Where, like with Bastion, just going into it because I wanted a fun little, action RPG. After the game ended, I spent hours on the internet reading threads and just looking at charts. I even printed out one of those timeline charts, just so I could show it off to my wife. And I ended up spending almost an hour explaining the story to her. And there's not many games that do that, and Bioshock Infinite was one of them. So that's where I give my 2 thumbs up at.
Yeah, that definitely agree with that. What about you, Rob? Is there something else that really made you say, this is why I like the game?
So, aside from the story and kind of directly related to the story at the same time, was the game has a really incredible amount of flow to it. The same way that Half-Life 2 had flow to it, where you walk into an area and you do a thing, and there'll be something that brings the action up, and then a little relaxer, and then up, and then a little relaxer, but there's never a moment where the game stops and forces you to say, 5 months later, or something else is going on somewhere else that we need to tell you about in order to get back to this thing that you were doing. It's event to event to event to event to event.
The transitions between events are really smooth.
Yes, the transitions
basically?
to events are very smooth, and it's hard to, I guess, describe how good a game with good flow feels, but it makes it very hard to put down, for one thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think between, like, what you're describing, the pacing and the flow, and the story that starts to suck you in and is this mystery that you want to solve more and more as the game goes on. Yeah. So those 2 things both hook you really well.
And imagine if you were in a game with a mysterious story and all of a sudden the game just stopped. Or it told you too much at once and you lost interest because you found out everything. Or you weren't getting anything about that story that you wanted to. You get bored and you put the game down. So that flow is super important, and I think was executed very well.
So for me, as always, it's immersion. But that's not actually it. So the attention to detail is easily up there at Valve level. And the original Bioshock was also in this vein. And attention to detail sounds like something small. Guild Wars 2 had it too, by the way. It sounds like something small, but it makes such an enormous difference. Specifically in Bioshock Infinite and in the original Bioshock, they get away with creating this amazing world, and they don't need a sidekick character there to tell you everything, right? All they have to do is they create the world, and they make it so that it's obvious by looking around you at the map at the architecture of the world, what's going on. You don't need a sidekick character yapping at you going, and that happened after this and this and this. They explain everything through the game itself. There's a very clever portion where it explains the backstory, what has happened recently to the city of Columbia, by taking you through literally a museum in the city. So that is a fantastically clever way to avoid forcing the player to A, listen to a massive amount of dialogue, or B, read an awful lot of text in order to explain to them what's going on. Because poorly done exposition is the word that is used in game design for when you're trying to describe something to the character so they know what's going on in the world around them. And the fact that they can do so much just by creating a world without speaking or making you read things is fantastic. I just loved it for that reason.
Yeah, and they had that extra little layer too, where if you wanted to learn like more, like if you were like a big RP nut and wanted to know every little detail, you remember those little in the game there was these little things you could look into.
Oh,
you
like
know,
the little
gave
Nickelodeons.
Right, and they
Yeah.
could give you even more detail. Like Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls series did do that as well. They have books that you can collect through the game, where if you don't, they don't shove it in your face. It's completely optional. It's there for you to look at, but you don't have to. But for people that wanted to really dig into the lore, like they played it either the first time through and the second time through they wanted to learn all the little details, or the first time through they just wanted to learn more about something they just passed up, like a particular area of town or a part of the storyline. They could look into these little modules and learn the little tiniest details. Games generally don't do that these days, and for Bioshock Infinite to do that, it was really, really neat because it didn't shove it in your face, but at the same time, it was there for you, and it all fit together.
It was. I probably spent about 45 minutes playing what was for most people the first 10 minutes of the game, because I had to stop and read every sign and every advertisement,
Right?
and really look at them. And I would stop and I would take screenshots of the posters, and I would stop playing the game and send those screenshots to people that I was talking to on Skype. Just to be like, look at this. Look at this thing.
And the guy, as you're going right to the beginning, there's the barbershop quartet. I had to stop and listen to that.
I listened to the whole thing.
I did. Because you see the poster for them right before, and then there they are. I felt like I was seeing a celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, those guys are on a sign, and there they are.
They're the gayest band in Colombia.
That's what it said right on the sign. That's how you know. It was great. Oh, man. Like I said, attention to detail is phenomenal. And as you go through the game, and the world kind of changes, because, like, spoiler, it is time and space are, like, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey in this thing. So the different versions of universes you wind up going through are really well-detailed and well-defined and different from each other to some subtle degrees. So, yeah.
Now, that song that the Barbershop Quartet was singing, was that... I haven't gone and looked this up. Was that an anachronism? Because I know some of the... I guess maybe I can't say this without spoiler, but... Remind me to bring this up again.
I'll have to look it up, or you can look it up while we're trying to figure this out.
Yes.
All right. So, there anything else that we want to talk about without spoiling the game? Without, I mean, we could talk a little bit about the combat mechanics, I guess, without spoiling the game. I mean, it's similar to Bioshock 1 in that you have guns and then you have this magic. And in Bioshock, they called it splices because you were using some genetic code to somehow turn your hand into bees at the time. And then in this one, they call them vigors, which is essentially the same concept, somehow transported into 1912, tonics in the old days, where you get some guy up there going, this is the miracle tonic right here, it'll do everything for you, it'll lift up your enemies in the air and then drop them on the ground. Like, okay. I don't know how that happened in 1912, but you know what? It's a magical floating city in the sky. So...
I think they just wanted to get away with the giant needle sticking to your arm right in the middle of the gameplay.
Yeah.
I mean...
Every time.
It's exactly the same, though. I mean, your hands still turned into stuff. And
Yep.
I mean, I think, honestly, they just wanted to get away from the needles, going into the arms.
The kind of the icky grossness of... Because I never got over that in Bioshock 1. Every time it happened, I was just like, eh.
Don't do it.
I'm going to get back up to the surface, and I'm going to have track marks from...
I'm never going to be able to get a job. Nobody sticks a needle right there. You put it in the elbow where they can't see. All right. Let's move on to the spoiler section, because I want to talk about this fucking game. All right, so spoilers. Spoilers. Spoiler alert. There are going to be spoilers. So be careful, because we're spoiling things.
So I looked it up and I found out that thing I wanted to spoil really bad.
What is that, the barbershop quartet thing?
So the barbershop was singing God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, which didn't come out till 1966.
Ah.
Right from the beginning, you have a big lead-in clue that this song shouldn't be here. So something is up. And I think most of they end up explaining this eventually when you're walking around in that one guy's what's his name, Fink. In a Fink studio, you find out the reason why there are all these anachronistic tunes lying around.
I don't remember finding that specific information out.
So it's one of the audio logs. He talks about his brother found all of these quote-unquote holes in time. So they were just lifting popular songs from every era afterwards and then making the 1912 version of that.
Ah, I see. So that's we know this song is going to be popular because it was totally popular in another dimension.
Totally popular. Not another dimension, but even in this dimension in a later time.
Yes, exactly. That's clever. I didn't catch that particular aspect because I didn't recognize the song. So there's a lot of interesting things to talk about in the spoiler thing. Let me pull up my show notes here. So let's talk about, because I want to get the angry things out of the way, because there are a couple things that I didn't like. So let's talk about things that we didn't like first, because we're going to talk about things that we did like probably forever. But is there going to be a company that produces a AAA game that doesn't make lazy achievements a part of their game design? Because I swear to God, I got an achievement for basically everything. Like, congratulations, you walked 10 feet! It's just, those kind of achievements make me so angry. If I got an achievement for, like, killing 7 guys in 10 seconds, okay, that's not something you do all the time. That sounds like something that might be considered an achievement. Well, instead, it's oh, you passed the first level. Well,
how else am I artificially going to inflate my gamer score by just buying a lot of games?
I don't know.
Or what is it on PlayStation? Trophies?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But that's about one of the only things that bug me, is anytime one of the really easy, lazy achievements popped up. It's because those achievements are easily trackable. Like, they can track how many enemies you can kill. They can track you when you beat a level. So it's much easier to just create an achievement based on that than to try and create an achievement that is measuring how many guys you kill in a specific amount of time. Or, when you pull off something really cool, usually metricing that is really difficult. So I'll give them a little credit for that, but still, it made me angry.
I feel like you got to have achievements for every level, though. I mean, think about it. You're at a certain level, Bridger, that you consider yourself with shooters, right? And everybody feels like they're at a certain level with shooters. Well, imagine the person that, the student or whatever that doesn't really play shooters at all. Probably this could be their first shooter ever. Their friend, it's like, oh my God, you got to buy this. And they play it. I mean, for them, those achievements for them are really achievements. They feel like they accomplished something. I think it really is. You have to put it in perspective.
It's the same reason why you have to keep making Mario games.
Because otherwise, people will never learn how to play a platform.
Yeah, no. My girlfriend, until a month or two ago, had never played Mario, and I watched somebody for the first time in years struggle through a Mario game.
Huh.
So at the same time where we're possibly, beating these levels easily, there's somebody out there who feels good at getting through this level because maybe they died 50 times and, so there might be some legitimacy.
You might be right.
I'm not saying all, but some of these.
Yeah, and I'll admit that not too many of them were of that caliber. I did see a lot of them that were like, killed 30 guys with explosives, or killed 20 guys with a machine gun. Like, it was just keeping track of how many guys you've killed with X vigor or X machine gun or whatever. So they basically made a different achievement for every single one of those.
That's true. I mean, I'm going to play the apologist a little bit for a second before I say all the mean things I have to say about this game. And say that might have been to try to make people try different weapons. So, oh, I've gotten the achievement for doing this. I must have been doing it a lot. I wonder if I can get another achievement for trying out a different kind of gun.
It might be a little subtle manipulation there. All right, so so the achievements is kind of one of the only things on my list. What about you guys? Are there any things that you didn't like about the game?
Go ahead, Tippert.
Oh no, you go.
I was going to say I didn't like the redundancy in picking up loot in areas.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasted a lot of time searching cabinets and desks and.
We just watched, if you're watching right now, we just spent the last 3 minutes running around this giant room looting everything.
I think that, like, if they had centralized some of the safes, for example, in the game that you had her unlock, those were okay. Those were kind of neat, and you had to collect lockpicks for them and stuff. But the redundancy in going from area to area because you are missing 2 or 3 coins. It seemed like I would spend 2 minutes searching an entire room for 17 coins, and then as soon as I leave the room, she flips me a coin worth 50 coins.
Yeah, right.
Well, I actually found out the pattern behind that one. If you look at a vending machine and you don't have enough for something, she'll very soon after that flip you money. So eventually I started gaming Elizabeth, being like, I know you have this coin, you bitch.
I was streaming the whole thing, and there were numerous times when she would just out of the blue flip me a coin, or right before a battle starts. Like, I wouldn't immediately activate her. Here's a coin, and in the middle of the battle, I'd need her to do something, like to activate something. So I'd look at her, and then she'd flip me a coin, like as bullets are flying past her. So, like, it was a little. I mean, I understand they wanted to make her make her more of a asset to you, and she was in many cases. But I just felt like there should have been a command that said, "I'm going to sit here and have a beer. You go search this town and bring back everything, since you seem to be better at it than I am."
I spent a large portion of this game just watching Elizabeth do stuff. Because
there's a lot of animations and idle animations.
It was absolutely
really cool.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And some of the times when she flipped me a coin, I would see her ruffle through something that looked like it might have money in it, like a register, and then she would try to flip me the coin.
Yep. It almost looked like often she was actually picking up the coins, like there were trigger points in the levels where, like, the game AI knew, like, if she walks past this, you can, at that point, trigger a potential coin toss.
Yep.
Basically.
And another thing I didn't like is I played on the highest difficulty, and then I replayed on that upper difficulty. And I felt like in order to get through the top difficulty, did you guys play that at all? The 1990 whatever mode?
1999 mode?
Yeah.
I did not. I was playing with my wife, so we were just taking turns, and she doesn't play a whole lot of first-person shooters, so we just play on the normal difficulty.
Yeah, you essentially, in those modes, I got away with a lot of melee combat and trying closer weapons like machine guns and shotguns and stuff in the first playthrough on the hardest difficulty or whatever. And it was a mix and match. And on the 1900 or whatever mode, it was, you pretty much had to always have a sniper rifle or always have a carbine, and snipe
the
people.
Carbine was godlike.
It was,
oh,
and
man.
you essentially almost always had to have those 2 guns, if not one of those 2 guns, because if you didn't, you were going to be insta-gibbed if you decided to go anywhere outside of from behind your barrel or behind your desk or something. I mean, it was to the point where, they made it hard, of course, and it was really hard, but they took away the other major aspects of gameplay. It basically sacrificed all the options to beat the harder difficulty, and I didn't like that. I thought that there should have been, at a harder difficulty, even if I'm playing the hardest difficulty, I should still have the option of going full melee, or the option of going shotgun or something. You didn't have that option at all on the harder difficulties. You had to go sniper rifle. You had to go carbine. If you didn't, you were instantly killed the second you walked out of cover.
Well, did either of you play primarily Vigors? Because that's what I did.
I did not. I played primarily... Once I started leveling up the machine gun, I was like, I like this thing. And you know what? The problem with that was the Vigors, the upgrades for the Vigors were way more expensive than the guns.
But they're way better.
I guess so, but I started upgrading guns first because that's what I had easy access to, because I had a couple hundred every time. But I never had enough for the Vigors until I got about halfway through the game, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty much all in with guns anyway. Really,
because I would explicitly save up and not buy guns because I really wanted a certain Vigor upgrade. But while we're on the topic of things we didn't like, and we can get back to that other thing later, the damn save system.
Oh! The save system was
I feel
so
like
frustrating.
The fact that I can just say the save system and you respond with not even a word but a grunt is a good indication of how everyone should feel about this.
It's like we went back in time to the dark ages where the consoles didn't let you save on your own, and they just had that autosave feature, and that's it. And it's weird though, because at least those autosaves eventually got better to the point where, like, every place where you'd expect an autosave to be, there would be one. This one would autosave like once a level. It was ridiculous how and you never knew when either, because it said, watch for the autosave symbol, and the autosave symbol disappeared in a half a second.
I caught it a few times.
I did. I did too.
But it was kind of evasive.
Evasive? The autosave symbol was evasive.
You gotta... It's part of the game. You gotta hunt the autosave symbol. It's a feature.
It's like, well, I was gonna leave soon, but I don't know if I've saved yet. It like called my friend, like, yeah, I'm not gonna make it. Yeah, I don't know if it's saved. I can't go. I was gonna leave, but I haven't seen the save in like 20 minutes.
And then you also have to play the risky game of, well, it'll tell you when the last time you saved was if you try to exit. But then you're on that exit screen and you have to tread very carefully to make sure you hit escape.
Yes.
And not accidentally quit. And then I had to shift tab to see what time it currently was, because the game's covering up my little time icon in the bottom right where my would normally be on my desktop.
Yep. All right, so yeah, I think save system. I think the hunting the loot thing was also really. I mean, certain things like when you would find gear. Right? Or you'd find a new Vigor. Those were the kinds of things that actually were exciting. Like, oh, I'm glad I went and went around that corner to check out that other office, so I got that cool piece of gear. But just hunting for general things like ammo and money was extremely tedious.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think it took it, despite all that, I don't think it took away from the game that much.
I kind of wish sometimes that that instead of picking up RPG ammo and stuff, like I could have upgraded my ammo capacity of certain types. I was a little disappointed that I could upgrade all of this other stuff, but I couldn't upgrade the basics, which is ammo capacity. Because you would pick up, max rounds for every other weapon you had, but the weapons that you wanted, and that was a little frustrating. There was many times I ran out of ammo, and of course there's always guns lying around, and you can pick up another gun, but I need this gun. This is the gun I've upgraded. This is the gun. And
for the most part, the little where the dollar bills were so abundant and ammo so cheap that I don't know. I never felt like I ran out of ammo because I could always buy more.
Yeah, I never ran out of ammo whenever there was a dollar bill nearby, but often he was not nearby.
Well, nearby is entirely defined by your willingness to backtrack in order to have ammo for the right gun.
Now, that's another thing, is there was a bit of backtracking in the game. What did you guys think? Was it too much? Was it too annoying?
It only annoyed me when it was the suddenly bad guys backtrack. The backtrack where you've cleared this area and you just want to get out and go do the next thing, but for some reason they've sent reinforcements to the same place where you just killed everyone.
Yep, the museum, I think, was the first place that happened. You went all the way down one side to learn about like the battle at Wounded Knee, and you killed all the guys on the way in, and then when you got back to the center, there was more guys. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
That was, those guys were in different exhibits, but once you kill all of the guys in all of the exhibits and you go to the area where it loops back, I was just walking out, and I got killed because I wasn't expecting to be shot at, so I was enjoying the architecture some more. I was like, oh, there were guys shooting at me last time I was here, let me take a second and appreciate this. And then there were bad guys there, again.
That's true. That's true. All right, so let's talk about some other things that are going on in the game there. What did you guys think about the N key, the one that lets you navigate around to tell you where you were going? I mean, other games might handle that with a map or something to that effect, but this one kind of just put an arrow on the ground for you. Was that a better way of going about it?
Map of the year, all years. I really liked it. It's a bold statement to make, but I've played too many games where it gives me a mini map or it gives me a map that I can look at, and I end up getting mapitis eventually, where I'm not looking at the game unless I need to shoot something. I'm just, even when I'm walking, I'm looking at myself on the map constantly, so I don't lose where I was going.
Yeah, I mean, here's another example. I just saw it here. Is I didn't know where to go. I'm in a room. I'm trapped. And I don't know what to do next. I just hit N, and because I didn't realize that's a closed door there. There's no reason for me to walk towards it again. I've walked towards it already, but the game is now triggering the ghost to open the door for me, and I didn't know until I hit the N. Then it told me where to go, and it sort of, I don't know.
Well, no, I remember that part of the game, and there were story cues that said that thing was going to happen.
That the door was going to open there?
Yeah, I believe that there was a story cue for that.
Okay, maybe I missed it then. But that's where it was definitely helpful.
But imagine if you had to open up and you're talking about immersion kind of sarcastically earlier, but it's a lot better for your immersion.
No, that's what I'm saying. It wound up, I didn't get frustrated by, well, how come I have no idea where I'm going? There was only one point where that N failed me, and it just sent me on the same rail over and over again. And I was like, I would get off it, and it would tell me to get back on the rail, and I couldn't figure out where the hell I was going. I finally got off in the right spot, but then I figured it out. But the rest of the game, I was never feeling lost and frustrated that I didn't know where I was going. So that definitely is a plus in its favor.
Yeah, I like the little map feature. I mean, I've seen it in other games. This game didn't revolutionize it or anything, but it's. I wouldn't say it's superior to a map because I mean, keep in mind that only shows you, your direction to your objective. Let's say you want to look at the map to say, oh, I didn't check out that corner yet.
Yeah.
Or I didn't check out this area. Wait, on the map, this looks like it might have a secret area. That's the advantage of a map. Just like in MMOs and RPGs, you look at a map so you can mentally tell yourself that this is a curious place over here. I want to go check it out. You couldn't do that in this game. So what ended up happening is if you were lost, your only option was to go to where the objective was, and it didn't help you to explore. You could always explore on your own, but it didn't help you to check off areas that you've already been.
This is true.
But the level design kind of reinforced this by being linear.
It wasn't linear at all.
It was.
There was a lot of open town areas. There was a lot of.
It's a very well disguised straight line, but it's a straight line for the most part, with a branch occasionally.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I noticed there were specific points, and I probably would not have noticed the linearity and the branch if they didn't have Elizabeth point it out. But at the same time, I would have preferred that Elizabeth pointed out. Specifically, what I'm talking about is you're walking through one of those things, and she'll say, so, should we go straight to the blah, blah, blah main objective? Or should we go check out that bar? And it made me turn my head and go, hey, I can go in over there. And then I'd go check it out, and it would sort of add more to the world of what's going on. There would be a small mini story, maybe a piece of gear hiding in there. There would be some sort of optional objective off to the side that she would point out sort of casually that would take you off the main path for a second if you wanted to. So I thought that was fairly subtle, yet at the same time, having her point things out like, hey, there's a lockpick, and hey, you got some ammo over here, or here's some salts, or things like that. It seems to me like that was handled really well. Oops, I don't want that. So I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it, especially because those side things were always so rewarding with the kinds of stuff you would find there, both in the terms of like the gear that you would find, but also in terms of the cool element of the story. You'd get some new of those recordings, the audio recordings, and you'd get some piece of story. Like you'd go into one, and there was a guy like I think this was the Hall of Heroes one. You go into a bar and you find the back door, and you find out that, listening to the audio recording, that these were the soldiers sent by Comstock to, shut down the Vox or something, but instead the Vox came and ambushed them, and you just see a guy who's knocked over on a table, and just a blood spatter on the wall where he was clearly executed. Like, this guy had a gun put to his head and he was executed, and you listen to the audio and it explains who he was executed him and why. And those were really cool to just find and explore and feel. It felt really natural.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Also, I know the exact segment where it was leading you the wrong way, and I think it's this one right here that we're watching.
It's this spot here.
Because I did the same thing. I didn't know where to go, and I kept hitting N, and it would say, get on the rail, get off the rail.
Yep.
Get back on that same rail the other way.
Exactly. It would tell me to turn around, and I couldn't figure out the path until I realized it was just completely bugged, and I left the zone, and it finally figured it out and said, yep, keep going straight. So, yeah, that was me. Here we're just desperately looking for a gun that we like, that we haven't upgraded fully yet. Because there was a point where we upgraded like 2 guns all the way, and we're like, we just want to keep getting these 2 guns. And then, but sometimes we run out of ammo and we have to pick up crappier guns. Well, what gun is currently being dropped by enemies? Let's boost that one up. So let me pull up Freelancer's footage here. There we go. So this is the fight with the, what's his name? The Big Daddy equivalent guy?
Yeah, what'd you guys think about that?
Go
ahead.
They were the one thing that truly made me fear for my life whenever they showed up. Or I guess not my life, but they made me fear for my money. Because I knew they were going to be killing me a lot, and I was going to be losing a lot of it.
This isn't the highlight.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the highlight I'm looking at here. I was looking at my own footage and looking at different things. This is the one where Songbird comes back and it freaks everybody out. This is the one you titled "This Is Why I Love Infinite," but it's like 12 minutes long, so it might be a little bit after this. But I think I know the part that comes up after this. I think what happens after this. Damn it! Now I can't remember.
We're in that big area that you were just in your video for the first time. I believe.
Oh, it is. Okay, so so I was in there at a later point in the game than this is. So the fighting on the rails thing. I think Freelancer, you mentioned you really like that.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find the actual part for you, but it's the rail fighting was just a new mechanic. I mean, it had a lot of quirks and a lot of things that you could abuse with it. But the whole idea of it was really neat. The shooting from it was okay. I mean, just in general, I think that what really kind of took me back. Did you guys use the rails a lot yourself?
Oh, yeah.
When they were there, I definitely used them, especially as an escape mechanism. If I was getting hot in the zone I was in, I would just be like, time to find a new vantage point.
Did you ever use it while you were facing the boss creature?
The handyman. Is that what we're talking about? The handyman?
The handyman,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I did, and then you have to get off pretty quick because he'd zap you.
The first time that happened, I was like, what the heck is going on? I thought that was really neat. Like, because I thought I could abuse the system, right, by using these rails and, continuing to jump off platforms and stuff. But this creature can jump from anywhere to anywhere.
Yes.
And also, if you decide to abuse the rails, can light them up with electricity. I mean, I thought that was so neat. In general, the first time I played through, which was a lot easier than the second time, the only trouble I had through the whole game was that one guy. Because how did you guys take him out? What was your general strategy?
Lots of rockets, I think. I had upgraded rockets, and I just did a lot of rockets. I would usually like run away on a rail and then land somewhere so that he couldn't shock me, and then shoot him as much as I could until he jumped, and then I'd run away on the rail again, and then find another vantage point and hit him again, and then just keep kiting him essentially.
Yeah. Well,
I did the same thing except substitute rockets with fireballs from my hand.
There you go.
Well, what would you do if you ran out of mana and such, though?
Run to a place where there was mana.
Wait until Elizabeth found some for you.
See, my only thing with the vigors was that you couldn't, or tonics, you couldn't really, you couldn't rely on them, because if you ran out, you were essentially screwed.
I disagree entirely. I played the game full vigor, and I think in order to do it, you had to, every time you found one of those fuzzy potions, whatever they're actually called. But I always upgraded my salt. And when you always upgrade your salt, you know where your dollar bills are, and you treat because all of the salts that you find are percentage for the most part. So you always wait until you need a salt bottle before you use it. I was never in a dire need for salt at any point in the game.
Huh. Now, speaking of Handyman, did you guys tear up a little bit when you listen to that audio tape from the Handyman that you kill? Did you guys hear that?
I don't remember that one.
There's a specific it wasn't this Handyman. There's another Handyman where it's like it brought me back the memory of what the heck these guys are, because early in the game it sort of explains the Handyman is like, it's somebody that had been... Oh, here's the fight, actually. He just zapped you.
Yeah.
It's somebody that had been, their body had been damaged, so they changed their body into metal, essentially, and kept their head intact. So they were still alive, but they were controlling this metal body. And after you kill a Handyman, I think it's the one before this, if you go up to him, you'll notice that, fallen out of his hand, out of his pocket, I don't know what it was an audio tape, and you listen to it, and it's the guy's wife, recording a message to him saying, "I will always love you. Whenever you feel sad, just remember, that I don't care if your body is metal or blah, 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 I will always love you." And I was like, "Ah, damn it. I was feeling so good about killing that." Oh, shit, he jumped right in front of you.
But, was that the one where the better handyman than a dead man?
It might have been. It might have been. I think so, actually. Yeah. So that was like, oh man, I felt so good about killing him, but now the game did that to you a lot. It wrestled a lot with the should you kill thing.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the Big Daddies in the original, if you remember. The Handyman replaced the Big Daddies. Remember, if you the original Bioshock, when you first faced a Big Daddy, you saw it before you actually faced him, right? He drilled this guy into a wall. You remember that?
Yep.
And it gave you that feeling. It was like, I hope I never have to face one of these things, right? But then you start to face them more and more throughout the game, and the mechanics, the whole game is centered around your environment and how you deal with this.
Did he just throw a guy at you?
Yes.
I did not have him do that to me. I've seen him beat guys and knock them out of the way, but he never threw one at me.
Yeah. So, just like in the original Bioshock, when you see a Big Daddy and you know you're facing one, which in this game you didn't even know you were facing one until they were smashing your face in.
Yes.
But in any Bioshock game, the idea was that it turns from you just running around your environment, taking cover, or picking a little favorite spot, and shooting everybody from behind cover, to now you have to utilize everything, whether you've explored it or not, and deal with the major problem at the moment. So Big Daddies did that in the original game. You had to manipulate pillars and stairs and all sorts of stuff and use every little last ounce of ammo you had to take care of the Big Daddy. In this game, Handyman were the same way. So, in this video here, I'm utilizing every little rail system, every chance I get. Of course, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, so you can see my health bar there and my shield bar. That's maxed out.
Wow, okay. That's what they do in that. I see.
That's maxed
mine
out.
Was a lot bigger than that.
One hit from this guy kills me. It doesn't matter how much health or shields I have.
Wow.
And the vigor, the vigors right there. the bar, that's almost maxed out. You know, on the hardest difficulty, it's no joke as far as your resources in that respect. So you have to rely more on guns than you do actual spells. And it was just every little ounce of ammo against these. Like, this whole video is like 10 minutes long, but it's with him. You know, and that's because the way this game was built around these guys, these different environments, they sort of are like the highlights of combat. I mean, wouldn't you agree? You don't forget any of these battles.
I liked how, you know, they're these giant guys, so you can't miss them when you actually try to shoot at them, right? They've got a giant health bar. But then, if you can hit that one spot where the heart is, it has that extra layer of, you don't just want to spray at them because you're definitely going to hit them because they're huge. You still want to aim, which is a nice little bit to throw in to give you something more, you know, skill-based to really deal with.
Yeah, you'll actually, you guys were talking about, with you, it was the magic or the abilities. With me, it was lining up a shot for when he jumped up to hit me on the rail. And that's how I ended up finishing him off in this video.
Oh, so yeah, because he stays there for a while, right?
He hangs for about 3 seconds, and during that time, he's shocking the bars. And you're given that chance to, you know, essentially shoot him a couple of times with the sniper rifle or what have you. Speaking of which, right here, I died, but then she picked me up. What did you guys think about the death system in this game?
It was definitely fairly forgiving. I mean, you lose a little bit of money, but then your enemies also gain some health back. But I never saw any come back. Like, the ones that I killed were always dead. You know?
Yeah. They're supposed to get healthier, though.
Right. The ones that were alive kind of filled back up, if I'd done damage.
I always justified it in the context of the theme of the game, where that was a reality where Booker died, and I've stopped playing in that reality, and now I'm picking up from another one where Booker isn't dead.
Because they do imply that there are many different realities where Booker tried to help her, but and then, did not make it.
There was also a time loop going on, like when you meet those two twins early on in the game, and they're flipping the coin, and you see how many times it's ticked off the same thing. That's supposed to be indicative of the number of times they've watched Booker do this.
Yes. Yes. I got that after a fashion.
Yeah. And I mean, you can read all into that. There's entire websites that launched about this game, which really speaks on the intricacy of the storyline.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good. But the general idea was that you walk through this door when you died, and that was actually you continuing to another storyline where you didn't die. So it was just where you were knocked down was the idea. So that's why you see her picking you up. It's that you didn't die, you know, you just got knocked down, and now you're continuing the reality of where you're getting back up.
Yes, where you are poorer.
Yeah.
Where are you poor?
every iteration, Booker's less good with his money.
Well, you know what it is? In the one reality where he died, he was weighed down by those thousands of coins. Because, you know, there's no paper money in this entire game. You literally had a giant pocket, like, massively bulging. So this thing's chasing you, and you're, like, trying to sprint with this big pocket filled with, like, 40 pounds of coins. But in this reality, Booker was just that much lighter. So he was able to dodge the main brunt of the assault that killed him in the other reality. I think that's clearly what was going on. So speaking about Elizabeth, I thought her perspective was really interesting on things. Specifically, the thing that kind of brought me out of the game a little bit, and not necessarily in a bad way, was when, you know, I've been at the beginning of the game, you know, you draw number 77, they identify you as the false shepherd, and then from then on you're just killing everybody, because everybody's trying to kill you. Comstock says he's the false shepherd, get him, and the police of Columbia start to fight you and try to kill you, and you have to start killing them. So you, before you even get to Monument Island, are in the reality of, I'm just killing all these guys. This is a first-person shooter. This is what you do in a first-person shooter. You just kill guys. But as soon as she starts to tag along with you and you have the first big fight, and afterwards she's like, you killed them. And I was like, I did. Why is that weird? Oh. I guess it is kind of odd that I'm just killing people and I have no problem with it. Like, all of a sudden she makes you stop and go, did you realize what you're doing?
Was I the only one that entered a town area and just immediately started shooting everybody up?
I'm sure you're not, but I didn't think that.
I mean, because you know how you enter these different areas, and there was like villagers and shopkeepers and
Yep.
stuff around, and there was
Yes.
guards too, and they wouldn't immediately fire on you. Well, I would actually just like figure out the best way to line up as many of them as I could, and then unleash hell on them, and, and it worked out great.
Were you just like, stupid racist, take my fireballs?
Well, the thing about it was you figure eventually these things will, somewhere down the storyline they're going to turn on you, right? So you might as well kill as many of them now as you can. and, and sure enough, I mean, we talked about this. You backtrack after being either discovered or alerted, and when I went back through those areas, they were empty. So, something tells me that I was doing the job anyway. You know what I mean?
In another reality, Booker was killing everyone anyway. So you might
Yeah.
as well do it in this reality.
But yeah, in the way that a lot of these NPCs and stuff getting on that they would react to you, like if you just pull out a gun or something, was really, really cool as well. Like it reminded me kind of again of Elder Scrolls and such, where if you wield fire, in Skyrim, and you walk up to a townsperson, they'll be like, freaking out because you have fire in their house or something, or if you have a sword out. And I actually would walk up to different people and try to start up different conversations doing that. And it was really neat.
So what do you think of Elizabeth as far as her, help, sort of her as a mechanic in the combat system? She'd throw you ammo. She would pull those things in through the tears to another dimension. Like, did that add to the game? Did it make it better, worse? What do you think?
I think it made for me, it was an overall positive. Because it introduced things that you could have sometimes, but not all the time, that would be advantageous to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that you could keep getting, so
Freelancer's on the same thing I am, where he's like, it's telling me to go up on this rail. So he's going up on the rail. And then it's like, where am I going now? And it just tells you to keep going up on the rail. Like, no, I don't want to go up on the rail. But yeah, I actually really liked it. Her, like, randomly coming up with ammo, but not every time. She'd, like, yell at you and, like, my cooldown's not up, bitch, stop dying. That's essentially what she'd say. Like, I need more time. I need to scavenge things for you. So I thought that was very clever. And it really, let's look at it. This game is a 10-hour escort mission. Right? It really is, but they made it not feel like a 10-hour escort mission because she actually is helpful and she can't die. You don't have to protect her.
Yeah, in the beginning, she says something like, you don't have to worry. She makes it very clear in the beginning that you never have to worry about defending her, and I thought that was interesting because when you read the previews and you read the like the IGN preview and stuff, I actually thought I would be like having to monitor her health bar and stuff, because think about it, in other shooters that have had a companion of sorts, you had to, right? Otherwise, you'd get that message in the middle of battle that says your partner has died, And
then it's like, yep, gotta go back.
So,
the chosen one is dead and you're responsible.
Sorry, Tib, go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say mostly the same thing, except I don't know if you can call it an escort mission if you're not actually required to escort somebody. I almost thought of her more as an extension of my ability to interact with the game world than something to look after.
Agreed. The other thing that was really interesting was their dialogue. Whenever they would say something that was like triggered for the story purpose, you went up to a thing and she was speaking while she was picking a lock for you. Those were always really interesting. Like they were never like just random little tidbits. There was always some piece in there that was really interesting. The thing that really like blew me out of the water was when you're saving her for the second time when she's trapped in that machine. And she, like, opens the tear to a place where a tornado is, and you go down and you save her, and she's like, I'm going to kill Comstock. And you're like, I can't let you do that. And I was like, fuck, am I actually programmed, like in the original Bioshock? Like, I'm not allowed to let anybody hurt Comstock? And then she's like, how are you going to stop me? And she opens the tear to the tornado again, and I was like, oh shit. And he's like, I can't let you do that because I'm killing Comstock. And I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot more sense. I was freaking out for a second.
Oh no, I both loved that line and I hated it because it gave me the feel of that, like, you know, do you love me? I don't love you. Or do you like me? I don't like you. I love you. It's such like a little. It's like, just say up front, I'm gonna go kill Comstock. She tornadoed on us. We really shouldn't mince words.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, all of their interactions were really good, and I know that you mentioned her animations were really fluid, and everything that she did was. I mean, her walk animation and the sound when she was walking seemed spot on. Like when you would look at her and she was walking, the sound was perfectly matched up with her footsteps. It wasn't just generic walking sound. It was really well done to make you believe like she's a real person. She's following you around. You always know where she is because you can hear her walking with her big high heels.
And then I stopped once to look at something. Like I just wanted to hear these two NPCs talk about like nuts or cotton candy or whatever the guy was selling. And I turned around expecting her to be doing that dumb NPC idle animation where they just, you know, stand around and stare off into no particular pointed space.
Yeah.
And she was sitting over on a bench, just like, whenever you're ready to continue the adventure, I'll be good, but I'm not I'm not going to stand there and wait for you. I'm going to look at my nails and, you know, check out how scuffed my shoes are, and I have things to do.
Yep. It's very well done. Very well done. So, man, are we going to talk about the ending now?
Really quickly, I'd like to bring up the ability that Freelancer just got in this video. As soon as I got that ability on...
the catch bullets one?
Yeah.
When you have full vigor, in not the 1912 mode, but in the regular hard difficulty, every fight became run at it with the shield up while machine gunning.
Yes.
That carried me through everything from this to the final quote-unquote boss fight.
See, is it a random point at which you get different vigors? Because I don't remember getting that vigor until way towards the end.
No, they all appear in the same spots, yeah.
I must have missed it the first time I went by then. Or I must have missed that specific one.
Yeah, I had just picked up this one where you could first get it. You could just, you know how you pick up the bottles later on. You can pass up the original bottles, and there are certain vigors you can only get by unlocking certain safes and stuff first. And but you would still eventually go through and, you know, get the vigors towards the end. So
yeah, because they start having each one show up as a bottle, which is just wind up being salts for if you already got it.
Right. Yeah. So that was pretty much the case. But yeah, this particular one with the shield, pretty much, I was like, wow, this is pretty overpowered. Now I don't have to get behind cover before I snipe them. And so I would activate it and then, you know, headshot, and be done with it instead of having to find, you know, cover and stuff. It was really kind of detracting from the difficulty of the game. As soon as you get that vigor, I felt like if I had known about that vigor beforehand, I should have just maxed out, you know, my salts and just gone with that for the rest of the game. Like, because it was that powerful. But it was the end game too. So, you know, anyways, getting on to the end game, you were saying.
So, we can talk about the final boss battle, but what did you guys think of the how the story wrapped up? Because when it originally wrapped up, I accidentally clicked the mouse on the credits, thinking, you know, if there's any important pieces to this, it wouldn't let me skip them, and it just brought me back to the beginning. And my wife was watching the whole thing, and she was like, "What? That was it? That's the ending? The hell?" We looked it up and saw somebody else and like scrolled through the whole credits, and there's like an additional little piece that implies that because they killed Booker somehow during that, you know, baptism, which canceled out all the Comstocks through all the stories. Somehow there's still a Booker somewhere that survived, and Anna is with him as a baby, and so she has a normal life. Like, that's kind of what it implies at the end.
Right.
So it's sort of like, there is a happy ending. And once we saw that, she was like, well, that's better.
Well, was he still a drunk, or was it a Booker who wasn't a no-good gambling Pinkerton?
Well, you couldn't have Anne unless he was a drunk, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So
right, but at the same time...
So how happy of an ending could it really have been?
Well, he could have gotten help, though, and...
That's true. I mean, I guess knowing the alternative of becoming Comstock, him being a drunk layabout...
Well, the way I read it described is, during that baptism, it's supposed to wash away all your sins, but because he turned into Comstock and became so successful, he didn't, he felt like that basically the baptism took away all of the guilt that he needed to feel because it's okay, he's been forgiven by God, essentially, and so he doesn't have to feel guilty anymore. When he doesn't take that baptism, he stills the guilt of what he did at Wounded Knee and all the people that he killed, etc. And because his sins are weighing on him, he feels the need to redeem himself, so he tries to be a better person. But the reason he turns into evil Comstock is because he never felt the need to redeem himself. He felt he was already, redeemed, essentially, by the baptism. The church, the priest said, you're redeemed, your sins are gone, you're a brand new person, you're born again now. You don't have to worry about redeeming yourself for how bad you were. So Booker, the reason that Booker was a good person, quote unquote, and tried to save Elizabeth and wanted, the world to not be the way that Comstock had it, was because he had the weight of that guilt bearing down on him. So if he's Booker and not Comstock, if he didn't take the easy quote-unquote way out with the baptism, then he will be a better person because he feels that motivation to redeem himself.
Right.
That's definitely one way to look at it. I think one of my favorite things is reading everybody's explanations for all of these story events. Oh, so this thing that quickly to get away from the topic, the thing that Freelancer just walked by, that place up and to the right, is where you find out the information about where they get all the songs.
Oh, I didn't see that either. I missed that.
Yeah, there was a place you could have jumped up and to the right.
I missed it. Oh, now I got to replay the whole game. That's cool.
But anyway, I've really enjoyed hearing everyone's opinions on this game, specifically because there are so many different ways of looking at it, and of course, people jumped to some pretty drastic conclusions about the positions of this game when it came out, about it being anti-religious or anti-Tea Party or, anti whatever they liked.
Yes.
Was I think the common sentiment of this game is bad because I think it stands against something I am for, without looking at it deeper, because I think the game takes very few concrete stands against or for anything.
I think the only stance it takes is pretty much like racism is bad.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we can say.
Yeah.
The bad guys here are the racists.
The people at Irrational felt that it was finally time for it to be okay for someone to say, you know what? I know everyone may not feel this way, but racism, I'm not for it.
There was a lot of references, not to politics, but to race in this game. A lot of the recordings and stuff, because the game's year takes place during that time period, I guess you could say. The recordings of that one woman, she spoke a lot about how they were colored folk and the way that her life was run, and she was a really interesting character. I can't remember her name, but you remember the one that was in that town that worked for the forge smith or something. That was interesting, and I mean it's part of the game. I think it drew you in, but I don't think there was any point in the game when there was anti this or anti that. That's silly. It really is.
I mean, I think there was an anti-extremist bent in the game, where not for any one particular kind of extremism, but anybody who takes an idea and then takes it too far.
Yeah.
It seems like the game thinks that's a bad idea in general.
The other thing is the game is very complex. The game's world is very complex. Columbia unravels before your eyes. When you first get there, it looks like the paradise they want you to think it is, right? It looks like this amazing place that is as good as it looks, and it's good. I think your video ended there. We'll go back to this one here. It looks like this amazing place, and then as you go through it, you unravel these pieces that show that a lot of what you're seeing is just bluster and propaganda. And so, as a result, some people take that to think, oh, they're saying that, you know, the United States is bad, because a lot of the propaganda is sort of wrapped up in that whole jingoistic, like, super America's the best, ha ha ha, so you must do everything. So it feels like you're attacking America as you go through the game, and it's revealed that, you know, but you have to understand that it's a wrapping. Like, America and super patriotism in the way that this game portrays them are simply a wrapping for the propaganda of the bad guys. It's not the America patriotic feeling that's bad. It's the bad guy who's using it as a, you know, as sort of a shield to hide his true motivations or his true things. I felt like that was something harder to, or easy to miss if you didn't wind up playing the whole game, and if you just played the beginning and then wanted to write an article about how this is anti-America.
I definitely had little moments throughout the game that slowly started to peel back that veneer. Like, I almost didn't want to shoot anybody in Colombia when I first got there.
Almost.
Almost, no. When you first step off the rocket, so to speak, that takes you up there, or whatever, it was a blimp or something. You know, it's... You got a barbershop quartet singing, and yeah, some of the ads are... I mean, the ads being kind of blatantly racist in some case were bad, but didn't necessarily make me go like, I should go on a murder spree. And kill this whole place. And then, there was a mother talking to... Like, I see this kid crying and this woman scolding him, and I walk over and she's saying, I can't believe, you know, I've caught you carrying on and kissing all these little girls. And she was so upset about it because the girls were Irish.
Ha!
It does make you wonder, though, why build the city in the sky in the first place? Did they explain that much at all? I mean, why not build somewhere?
Comstock builds it as kind of like the 51st state, or I guess in 1912 we had. I'm showing how.
I think we only had
awful
48 states in 1912.
I wanted to say we didn't quite have all of them yet.
Yeah, we didn't have Alaska and Hawaii were the last two. But yeah, he's building it as a new state because he doesn't like the way that the regular United States is run. Essentially.
I mean, he's doing it, but he's not saying that yet. And then at a certain point, Colombia secedes from the Union.
Right.
So Colombia was part of the United States of America at one point, and I believe he even says that Congress funded it, its creation, for some reason.
Yeah. So what I got from it is, he creates this sort of utopia where he would be able to, make sure that, the white man is superior and all of the things that he wants to come to pass will come to pass. And the key moment where he splits from the rest of America was that time in the sort of at the very beginning of the game. You learn about the massacre at, what was it?
Wounded Knee?
No, Sikang?
The Boxer Rebellion?
The Boxer Rebellion. Is that it? In China, where a bunch of Americans get killed, and he basically flies Colombia over there and flattens the city with Colombia's weapons. And the American government is like, whoa, that's not cool. And he's like, what do you mean? I was doing that. I was avenging the death of Americans. And, the American government is like, no, you can't do that. Bring your city down here right now. We need to talk to you. And so he's like, never. And he secedes from the Union at that point. That's where he has this sort of divide from the government. So that's how I always saw it.
Okay.
Stupid repeater. I hated that gun. It was everywhere. I just wanted machine gun ammo. Every time.
Yeah. I always got really happy whenever I saw the corpses of the... Comstock soldiers, because I knew they had the weapons I liked.
Yes.
Like when I saw the corpses of Vox Populi brought me nothing but disdain.
Yep. That's how it always was. Now, what did you think of this? there were many places where in order to progress, you had to have a lockpick. And I always had plenty of lockpicks, but I usually looked for stuff. Like, if I was just trying to go through the game without doing optional stuff and without doing a lot of looting, I feel like what would you have done? If you're the game designer, you can't let the game stop.
Well, no, all of the important lockpicks were quote-unquote hairpin lockpicks, so Elizabeth could do that without the need for any of the kits that you found.
Oh, I didn't see that they were different.
Yeah, it didn't expand any of your inventory lockpicks. It just assumed that, this lock is so easy that Elizabeth can take care of it with a hairpin that she conveniently always has and never breaks.
Gotcha. So the ending as a whole, though, I think I was satisfied with.
I loved the ghosts.
The ghosts were really interesting, and the fact that I put it together after the fact, Andrew Ryan and Jack from the original Bioshock were both the same person, essentially. Jack was a clone of Andrew Ryan. And in this game, you are also the clone of, essentially the clone. You're the same person as the antagonist. The protagonist and the antagonist in both of these games are the same person. And that reiterates the sort of concept of these are all sort of variations on a theme. There's always a man, there's always a lighthouse. But, they're always there. And that was really cool. I was really not expecting to wind up in Rapture. That was amazing. And the fact that she saved us by going underwater and killing Songbird and then was, so sad about it. I was like, what? Did she do that on purpose?
I was really sad I never got to fight Songbird to a certain extent.
It was like building up the whole game. You're expecting it to be the final boss fight, right?
Yeah, and then it ends without me having to fight Songbird ever. And I don't know, I always expected to have to shoot something else after that final boss fight happened. I was going, this feels like it's it, but this can't be it.
Yeah, the rest of it was like a 15-minute story part. There was no fighting at the last part. I don't know, I thought the final boss fight was a really good ending because it kind of gave you all these tools that you've been using the whole game and said, okay, put it all together. You're about to be assaulted by everything we have, except Songbird, who's now on your side.
I suppose.
I felt the last part was actually, I was a little underwhelmed by it. I mean, the game was great. Songbird attacking the blimps and stuff was great, but I felt a little underwhelmed because the attack waves were all pretty much the same. If you sat near the front of the ship and like me, I had a sniper rifle. It was just like, okay, headshot. Now target Songbird. Okay, now wait for next wave. Headshot. Target Songbird, and it was a little redundant.
I agree, it was a little easy. On my part, my core breach. I don't know what the hell the power source, whatever that meter was. I don't think ever got lower than 90% at most. It was really easy to just run behind the mechanical guys, shoot them in the back with RPGs. The only time I started having problems when I started running out of ammo of the weapons that I liked and had upgraded. That was the only time. But then it ended. So.
Yeah, but there were so many places you can get weapons and ammo. You just had to go to the different layers.
Yep.
And then, of course, you could just run down the middle of the where the enemies were and pick up ammo. So.
And you had the world's most convenient rail that just went in a loop in that one section and went nowhere else.
Exactly.
That was the one point where my belief in the universe was truly broken when I said, "Where does this go? What does this do?"
And the answer is nothing.
Well, it's so that you can have a zipline during the boss fight because we let you do that in other parts of the game.
Yep. I think that's true. I
was going to say, honestly, I didn't feel like that was, I didn't go into that fight and go through that fight feeling like that was the end. I didn't think the game would be ending right after that.
Snuck up on me.
Yeah, it really did. I was like, okay, that was a cool, arena type area to fight in. Okay, now what's next? And then the game ends. And I'm like, oh, that was the finale. Okay, the songbird was cool and all, and yeah, that was sort of sad, but I guess I was expecting, and this just might be unfair because of other games, but I was expecting something like big, and I don't know, I was expecting Songbird to turn on me or something, or she was going to lose control of Songbird or something like that,
At the same time, it turns out, I mean, based on the way that the story was written, all those other times that Booker ever had to actually fight Songbird, he always died. The only way they were able to change reality was because Elder Elizabeth finally had a change of heart and gave them the key to making Songbird an ally instead of fighting it. So it was apparently like the perfect enemy. Like, no matter which reality you went to, Songbird always defeated you.
Yeah.
That's true, and it does kind of reinforce that theme of inevitability and an inability to change the past that the game has.
So, man, I don't even know if there's just so much to this game. And I started getting really hooked and interested when we got to a point where we're like, oh crap, the weaponsmith is dead. But what if we were just to go to someplace that he wasn't dead? And that's when it started to get really interesting. Like, oh wait a minute, we're playing around with time and space here. Now we got to see what's going on.
That's when the roller coaster ride of that game really began.
Yeah.
I agree.
The average curve of the plot definitely slowly tips up as the game goes along. There's little moments of excitement even at the beginning, but it never reaches the maximum moments of excitement near the end.
My favorite combination, though, was using birds plus machine gun, because the birds would just distract my enemies long enough for me to kill them all.
Oh, so did you ever get the enhancement that turned everyone killed while they had birds on them into bird traps?
No.
That was one of the main ways that I conserved salt, was I would use birds and I would kill somebody while they had it on them. They would become a trap. Other people would be hit by it. I would kill another guy and he would become a trap. And I had this infinite bird trap loop that I could set up if I positioned myself correctly.
I'm exploring the same place that Freelancer explored earlier. I guess we had the same part we were both interested in. Now, how many ciphers did you guys discover?
2.
I think I discovered 2 as well. I'm pretty sure there was a third that we found the cipher, but not the code book, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think I had about 2 in my game as well.
I thought, once they introduced that mechanic, I figured there would be more than that throughout the game. And what is with the water puddle?
You can electrocute it, and it makes your lightning area of effect.
I thought that might be it, but I thought there should be more to it than that.
Well, it's the same reason
you have to kite enemies over that specific puddle.
Well, it's the same reason that the oil puddles are there, so that you can throw fire at them.
Yeah, I guess. This is me backtracking to go get the cipher now that I've figured it out.
And then if you're like me, you upgraded the lightning so that it was chain lightning all the time anyway.
Yes, I love the chain lightning, and I had the piece of gear, the overkill one, so that when you killed somebody, they would chain lightning everybody anyway. It was chain lightning everywhere.
So overpowered.
It really was.
in the best way, though.
Yep. Oh, man. Oh, I can't... I was so at the end, I was just like, wait, what's going on? I thought for sure there's no way that Comstock and him are the same person. I was like, that can't be that can't be the thing. They would have recognized each other, or they would have recognized them. She would have recognized. They don't even look alike. Like, of all the times we've seen him, and
well, Comstock definitely recognizes you.
Right. Yep. Comstock knows exactly where she came from.
He drops that big hint near the end where he says, you always did have a penchant for self-destruction or something like that.
Ah, yes.
And I didn't realize it until after, because even though it was a huge clue, it went over my head at the time. But man.
But man, that ending, that was just insane.
So we've done pretty well to explain it, but not totally spoil the game for everybody. So I think we're all in agreement here that if somebody's still listening or they hear about this, we highly recommend the game, right?
Yep.
We can agree on that?
Yes.
Okay, so we highly recommend the game. And would you say it's a game that people, like anybody can pick up? Or is it a game that you think somebody like that is a veteran of a shooter, will be able to pick up? What are your honest thoughts on that?
I think, we have it right here. Angie was playing it and not getting. She doesn't play a lot of first-person shooters specifically. She doesn't have the years of experience that I do. She was able to play it, and even though she died a little bit, and I died a little bit too, obviously, but the death mechanic is so lenient. It still feels bad that you died. Like, you're not like, oh, who cares, and just suicide all the time, because there still is that money penalty. You feel like you still feel the need to survive and do well, but at the same time, it doesn't feel so harsh that, like, I just have to give up because I've died too much. So I think it's really well balanced for everybody, especially because, like you said, if you put on the 1999 mode, it can actually get significantly challenging to that respect.
Yeah. But, I was just saying, like, entry level, because there's a lot of people that hear about it and then they think, oh, it's a shooter, I don't want to be a part of that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's one of those games that sort of, like, I would recommend that transcends whether you like shooters or not.
I agree.
And I guess that's what I was getting at. Much like how with going back to my original thing, like with Bastion, whether you like action RPGs or not, that's one of those games that I just feel like you have to call yourself a gamer, you have to graduate, and play this game. Now, maybe not at $60 a pop, but when this game starts going on sale and becomes, 5, 10, 15, 20 or whatever, it's just one of those titles that you just won't forget, and much like if you've ever watched the movie Memento, or anything similar to that, it's one of those that you can talk with other gamers and other people a year from now and have good memories about. And that's what I'm trying to say. It transcends just the shooter crowd,
And I don't think it has the same. There were a few times where I felt in the same way that the original Bioshock, where it just had that connection. The moment in the original Bioshock, spoilers, by the way, skip ahead 30 seconds if you never played the original Bioshock and you still care. But the moment where you realize that the game itself, the way that you've been playing the game, the way that you play every game, where you just listen obediently to the objective, guy. There's always a guy in first-person shooters that give you your objective. There's always somebody on the radio, or there's always some, like, even sometimes your own character speaks it loud, and you just listen, mechanically almost, to what they say, because you can't do anything otherwise. And then you find out that the character you're playing in the story is exactly that way, but not because they're in a game, but because of a very different reason. There are a few moments, like I mentioned before, where she says, I can't believe you just killed those people, that make you step back and go, wait a minute. It kind of breaks that fourth wall between game and not game and makes you think a lot more about the game you're playing and the story that's going on.
Yep. And you can apply a lot of the same logic to this one, where you're in a game universe where there is an infinite number of universes, where an infinite number of bookers and comstocks are fighting it out and doing different things. And the game that you're playing, and this also ties into the fact that people at different levels can do it. The game I played in hard mode with Vigors is vastly different than the game that Freelancer played on 1912 mode using a sniper rifle all the time. The same way that there's an infinite number of...
Whoa, it didn't even hit me until now that you mentioned everybody playing Bioshock is playing in their own universe where Booker's trying to save the world.
Exactly.
Whoa! You're blowing my mind, kid. You're blowing my mind.
Had you actually not thought of that until now?
No, not until just now when you started to describe that. I was like, whoa.
But I think that was my favorite moment, was that the meta reveal of it all.
Yeah. Where she's like walking you between all these lighthouses, and you see other bookers everywhere else walking between other lighthouses because she's also gotten to that point where she's explaining it to the other bookers. And then like the 7 or 8 different versions of Elizabeth that somehow survived from various universes come and help to drown you.
Now what you needed is like above those different bookers as you see them in the distance, like random people off your friends list on Steam.
Their names hovering like in an MMO.
Yep.
But only if they got to that point in the game. Like achievement unlocked, entering other universes.
It would be even worse if it wasn't people from your friends list, so you just see some booker off in the distance who's like XXX sexy nun XXX.
Wow.
That would be terrible. All right, on that note, I think it might be time to call it a night. Any final thoughts?
Just without going into any more spoilers, if we're spoiling the game for you, you've already done something wrong. You need to go play the game.
I don't know. To some degree, I think playing it while knowing the ending would reveal so many cool things you might have missed the first time. Like Rob mentioned earlier, that coin tossing moment at the very beginning of the game that I had basically forgotten about until I think he mentioned it, where you see the Lutece brother and sister, or different versions of the same person, whatever, asking you to choose whether it's heads or tails. And it's always heads because they've been doing this over and over again. Knowing the way that the whole game is crafted will reveal all those cool moments that are baked in. And you're given all these clues that you could potentially almost put it together ahead of time, but it's really complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that if you're here and you're trying to spoil it for yourself purposefully so that you don't have to go and play the game, but you can still know what was going on, the experience of playing this game is unique and special and awesome enough that it needs to be a first-hand thing.
Agreed. And it's just long enough. It's not too long where you get bored. I think it did that better than the original Bioshock.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good long one, but you know what? I think it was worth it because I think this is a game that needed to have a good long talk, as it were. And next week we've got Burning Wheel officially starting. Brett's going to be joining us on that, and we're going to make your character this week, because I think he's going to be absent next week. Where are you going? Holland?
Go to the Netherlands.
Somewhere in the Netherlands.
Wow, I'm jealous, man.
Yeah, my brother lives over there, going to school, so I get
live from somewhere in the Netherlands. So that's going to be great. Definitely check that out, guys. Burning Wheel. We had a test run last week. It was really fun, and I guarantee you, I don't even want to know what Lightning's going to make for a character, much less Arctics. That's going to be a nightmare. But I'll talk to him this week and see if I can talk him down from Whoremonger to something a little bit more appropriate for our setting. We'll see.
Yeah, and, you do that.
if Koroneko's still watching, I'll try not to stab you as much.
That was a terrible end for him. All right, so with that, let's end it here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, every Sunday at 7, we've got a show. Every Wednesday at 7, we've got a game. This week, I'm thinking I might run something new. I haven't decided Wednesday, but Wednesday at 7, definitely check it out. I'm kind of deciding between starting a new single-player game or jumping into another turn-based game, or maybe just doing CSGO with everybody. That's been a lot of fun. So we'll find out. And if you would like to join us, teamlegacy.net, jump in the community. All you have to do to join is just join the forums, hang out with us on TeamSpeak. We've got WildStar coming up as our next big game, along with ESO, Elder Scrolls Online. We play League and Counter-Strike Go all the time. There's people in there playing Terra. There's people in there playing all kinds of stuff, StarCraft, etc. So just come join us. It's a fun, awesome group, and there's no reason not to, really, unless you're scared. That's actually a really good reason, if you're really scared of social situations. But don't worry, it's a welcoming crowd. No hating. So have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for joining me, guys. I might have run a little long. There's just so many moments where I wanted to say, and then there was the time.
I gotta pop off to a meeting.
All right. Sounds good then.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good one.
Yep.
Is it something I should be attending?
In theory, yes.
All right. I will hop off too then and jump on TeamSpeak. So I'll see you there in a minute.
All right. See you, Tibbert.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
See you.
Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll upload this to YouTube tomorrow, and the podcast MP3 also.